Okay, so here we are again. Good morning. And we're reading stories from this book. It's called Lucky Dogs, Lost Hats, and Dating Don'ts. All right, it's our second story. And it's going to be about these two people. And this is, his name is John. And this is Jessica, his girlfriend. And they're going on a camping trip with John's brother. John is 22 and his younger brother is 21. And then his girlfriend. So they're dating as couples. So here we go. It's called Adventures in Camping. A car filled with 4 excited people and lots of camping gear turned by a sign that said campground. Hank was driving. His girlfriend Holly sat next to him in the front seat. Hank and Holly began dating in high school and have been dating for 4 years now. They are both 21 years old. Hank's brother John was in the back seat. John is 22. John's girlfriend Jessica, who was 21, sat next to him in the back seat. So those are the two people, this picture that I have. John and Hank grew up camping with their family. They liked to be outside. The brothers were both happy to show their girlfriends all they knew about camping. Jessica and John have Down syndrome. They met 8 months ago at a walk to raise money for a local Down syndrome program. John was walking in front of Jessica and she noticed him right away. He had a great laugh and was very stylishly dressed. Jessica knew a lot about style and fashion. When John stopped to tie his shoe, she walked up to him and pretended she needed to tie her shoe too. She said, "Hi, I'm Jessica." John looked up and smiled. He thought Jessica was very pretty. She had a beautiful smile and shiny brown hair. John liked shiny brown hair. John said, "Hi, I'm John. Those are my friends up there. Do you want to walk with us?" Jessica walked with John and his friends for the rest of the walk, but they only talked to each other. They exchanged phone numbers, and 2 days later, Jessica called John. She asked him if he wanted to go feed the ducks at a park. John met Jessica at the park. They fed the ducks, they smiled and laughed and decided they would be boyfriend and girlfriend. 8 months later, Jessica and John were on their way to their first overnight date. They held hands in the back seat of the car. In the front seat, Holly and John's brother, Hank, talked about their favorite music. Hank said he liked country music. Holly laughed because she thinks country music is silly and twangy. She likes dance music. John heard Holly laughing about country music. "Country music is the best," said John. "Amen, brother," said Hank. "Okay, so you guys like country music. What about you, Jessica? What kind of music do you like?" Holly asked Jessica. "Well," Jessica said, "I like lots of music. My favorite singer is Frank Sinatra. That's what my mom and dad listen to, and I know all of his songs. I also like the Beach Boys because," "Oh, watch out for the raccoon," Holly shouted. Hank made a very sharp right turn so he would not hit the large raccoon in the middle of the road. Everyone held their breath. The car did not hit the raccoon, but the car did run over a patch of gravel, spin around, and knock over a small tree and landed in a ditch. "Is everyone okay?" Hank asked. "Yes, we're okay," Jessica said. "I'm glad we were wearing our seatbelts." Holly looked at Hank. She knew he was going to be upset about his car. Hank tried to drive the car out of the ditch. The wheels turned, but the car didn't go anywhere. "Would you like us to get out and push?" Holly asked Hank. "Sure," he said. Holly, John, and Jessica got out and put their hands on the back of the car. And Holly yelled, "Okay, go." Hank pressed the gas pedal. Holly, Jessica, and John pushed as hard as they could, but the car didn't move an inch. They tried 5 more times, but the car did not move at all. Hank got out of the car and looked at the dent in the car's back bumper, and he frowned. He put his hands in his pocket and shook his head. "Sorry, Hank," said John. "Me too, John, me too. It's going to get dark in a couple of hours. We could walk to the campground in about 10 minutes. Let's grab as much stuff as we can and walk the rest of the way. I'll call a tow truck to pull the car out of the ditch in the morning." Okay, here's the raccoon that they missed, but they landed in a ditch so that they didn't hit it. Here's a photograph trying to push. Jessica and Hank are trying to help John get that car out of the ditch, but not successful. But everybody nodded and they loaded their arms with camping gear, tents, sleeping bags, a lantern, and backpacks filled with clothes, food, water bottles, and flashlights. And then they started walking towards the campsite. Jessica and John walked ahead of Holly and Hank, and John asked, "Have you ever been in a car crash, Jessica?" "No, that was scary," Jessica said. "Have you ever been in a car crash before yourself?" "Well, when I was a little boy, we got in a car crash at the mall parking lot. My dad said it was just a fender bender, but my mom was mad." And then John and Jessica heard Hank and Holly begin to fight. "Just a car," Hank yelled. "Yes, it's just a car, Hank. We're all okay, and that's the most important thing," said Holly. "Well, that's easy for you to say. You didn't work and save up money to buy your car like I did. Your parents bought your car for you." "So what?" Holly asked. "Well, I'm just saying your parents have given you everything, including your fancy red car. You've never even had a job. You're a little spoiled. And if you ask me, I have worked and saved my money for the things I have," Hank said. "Did you just call me spoiled? That is so unfair. You shouldn't be mean to me just because you're upset about your car." "I'm not being mean. I'm just telling the truth. If your car had to be fixed, your parents would just pay for it. Well, guess what? My mom and dad can't give me money to fix my car," Hank said. "Now, and I'll have to work even more hours at the bookstore. I will have a dent in my stupid fender until I save enough money to fix it," Hank yelled back at Holly. "Well, I never said you shouldn't be upset about your car. I said the most important thing is that we're all okay. No one was hurt. I think people are more important than a stupid car," Holly yelled back. "Oh, so now my car is stupid?" Hank asked. Jessica and John looked at each other. "Let's walk faster," Jessica said. "I don't want to listen to fighting." And John nodded his head. As they walked, Jessica asked John, "Do they fight like this a lot? What if they break up?" "Don't worry," John said. "They fight like this sometimes, but they always make up. My dad says it's okay for couples to disagree." "John, I don't want to ever fight with you," Jessica said as they arrived at the campsite. "Me neither," said John as he put down the things he was carrying. Jessica and John began setting up their tent. John had done this many times, so the tent went up quickly. Jessica and John crawled inside with their things. They arranged their sleeping bags next to each other, and then they began unpacking their backpacks. Jessica saw John's pajamas and started laughing. "John, your pajamas don't match. The pants have basketballs on them, but your top is striped. The colors don't even match." Jessica kept giggling because she thought this was very funny. And John just shrugged. "I'm just sleeping in them. I don't care if they match." And then he smiled and said, "Okay, Jessica, let me see your pajamas." Jessica reached into her backpack and pulled out her pajamas. They were purple and shiny and very pretty. "See," said Jessica, "they match." John said, "Uh-huh." He was thinking about how pretty Jessica would look in her purple pajamas when he heard Hank throw his camping gear down near their tent. Jessica and John crowded out of their tent. Holly was taking the food out of bags and putting it on the picnic table. She and Hank were not speaking to each other. John said. "Jessica and I are going to get firewood. Do you mind if I go with you?" asked Holly, and Jessica and John nodded. As they walked away to find firewood, Holly said, "I'm really sorry, you guys. I'm sorry that Hank and I are fighting on your first camping trip together." "It'll be okay," Holly continued. "I'm just so angry that he thinks I'm spoiled. He thinks he's the only one who has ever had to work hard for anything. I know he works hard at the bookstore, believe me. He tells me all the time." Jessica said, "Well, I work very hard in school." "Great point," Holly said very loudly, and then she turned around and walked quickly back to the campsite. Jessica and John stopped, and soon they heard Holly shouting towards Frank. "Hank, Jessica just made an excellent point." Jessica looked at John and wondered what Holly was about to say. They followed Holly back to the campsite. Holly said, "Hank, school has always been very easy for you. You barely have to study for tests. I work very hard and study so much more than you do, but you still get better grades than I do." Holly was still very upset. She continued, plus, Jessica and John work really hard in school too. So you're not the only one who knows how it feels to work hard. And here's Jessica and John, okay? And they're not liking to listen to all this fighting. John's brother Hank was putting up his tent and didn't say a word. Jessica was uncomfortable. She tugged on John's arm and said, "Let's go get firewood." John was about to head into the woods with Jessica when he saw something moving on top of the picnic table. It was another raccoon. Hank, John got his brother's attention. Do you see that? John pointed towards the raccoon. It was headed for the chocolate bars they would use to make s'mores. Jessica was shocked that John was so calm. "What are you going to do?" Jessica asked in a whisper, but John didn't answer her. He and Hank had been camping many times before. They had seen many raccoons trying to steal their dinner. Both brothers ran to their backpacks and returned with flashlights, and they looked at each other and nodded their heads. At the same time, they turned on their flashlights and pointed them at the raccoons. But this raccoon was not going to be scared by flashlight beams. He was now trying to open the plastic bag with the chocolate bars inside. Hank huffed and said, "Well, I'm not going to let another raccoon ruin our camping trip. I hope you guys like raccoons too, because I'm going to get this little thief." Hank picked up a rock and began walking towards the raccoon. And just as he was ready to throw the rock, Hank tripped on a branch and landed on the ground. He made a loud "ooh" sound. The noise of Hank tripping was enough to scare away the raccoon. It was also enough to make John, Jessica, and Holly laugh. They laughed so hard that John pretended he was falling too. Holly laughed so hard that she started crying. Finally, Hank began to laugh. "All right, you guys, very funny, very funny. Let me see how you would feel if you tripped and fell in the dirt." "Well, do you think you're the only one who's ever tripped before?" Holly said, and she was still laughing. But Hank knew she was talking about their fight. "Fine," Hank said. "You've all tripped and fallen before, and you've all worked hard. I know I'm not the only one who works hard." Hank began to brush the leaves and dirt off his clothes, and Holly walked over to him and brushed the dirt off his shoulders. It was clear she was no longer angry with him. Holly said, "I really am sorry about your car," and Hank kissed her quickly on the cheek. Holly and John were glad to see that Hank and Holly were no longer fighting. Hank said, "Man, I'm hungry. Let's go see if the raccoon got away with any of our food. Maybe we can start dinner." Hank and Holly walked over to the picnic table, and while sorting through the food, Hank said, "John, how about you and Jessica go get that firewood now? We need to start a fire to roast the hot dogs." As he turned around, Hank saw that John and Jesse already had the same idea. They were walking down the path together, holding hands. John said something about purple pajamas, and then they turned a corner in the path and disappeared from sight. That night, Jessica, John, Holly, and Hank roasted hot dogs and ate s'mores. They took turns telling jokes and stories, and everyone laughed a lot. No one saw any more raccoons. And there's a picture. Okay, there's Jessica and John, and they're going to go get firewood. So this has some questions at the end, which are pretty cool. And I think, Carmen, if we could stop now, I'd like to go ahead and have a discussion